Welcome to Bhagwan Ki Baatein, the YouTube channel where we talk only and only about God and, of course, His men. In the ongoing series, we are narrating incidents from the life of the great Bhakt, Sena, in fact, Sena the Barber. And in the last capsule, we learned as to how Lord Himself, on the call of the king, disguised Himself as Sena the Barber and went up to him. And all the anger which king had for Sena the Barber disappeared, and God actually shaved him, shampooed his head. Let's see what happens next. The king said to him thereafter, "You must remain here with me. Amongst all the barbers, I think you are the cleverest." But, said the barber, the incarnation of Krishna, he was actually Lord in disguise of Sena the Barber. He said, "I pervaded the whole of universe. There is no place empty of me. No, not a single atom. So it is not in my power to come and go, to do or to remain. Although I do, I am not a doer. Pervading all things, I am separate from all things. In order to carry out this errand for my bhakt, I have for the moment taken this form with qualities, but I can never put aside my condition of being unmanifested." As the holder of the Sharang bow, Sri Krishna, said this, the king was made very happy. And to be rubbed over his body, he ordered fragrant oil, placing a square seat made of sandalwood from the mountains of Mela. He came and sat upon it, and Sena rubbed the oil upon him. In the beautiful cup set with jewels, there was a mogra oil. It was reflected, the beautiful four-armed one in a visible form. His glorious crown was shining with luster. Clothed in his yellow robe, he appeared in his complexion of the dark cloud. When the king saw this form, he was filled with amazement. Turning his eyes upwards, he saw Sena, who was rubbing him, and turning to the cup, he saw reflected in it the form of Krishna. His eyes were fastened on this form. The king lost all consciousness of body. He did not realize that he should say that rubbing might cease. His 10 organs of sense, his intellect, his mind, all became inactive and were absorbed in this essential form of God. The men, the king's assembly, laughed at the king and said, "He has become possessed." His servants then said to him, "You must get up now and go to your bath. It is now midday. Waken yourself, O king." The king said to Sena, "Sit a while beside me. If you go back to your house, I will give up my life." Sri Hari replied, "I shall return quickly. O king, do not confine me in your heart." The king then brought a handful of golden coins, placed them in the cloth of Sena, the barber. Hari went to Sena's house and putting his bag of barber's instruments on a peg and throwing the golden coins into the bag, he became at once invisible. The king, after having performed his bath, gave his command to his servants, "You must at once go and invite Sena. I do not need these things such as garments, ornaments, and adornments. Cause me to meet Sena the barber. I do not care for dainty food, nor for the fragrant powders, garments, and fragrant flowers. Invite Sena to come and cause me to meet him. If he does not come at once, I shall lose my life. Cause me to meet at once that king of bhakts. The moment that I see him, I shall be free from the rebirths and deaths. Bring that Vaishnav, Sena the barber, and cause me to meet him." The king was entirely overcome, and his servants were frightened. They then went to the house of Sena and requested him to come. Sena replied, "The king is angry with me." Still taking his bag of instruments on his shoulder, he arrived at the door of the king. The moment the king saw Sena, he stood up to greet him. And all the people of king's assembly laughed to see this most extraordinary sight. The king said to him, "You were here early this morning and showed yourself in your essential form, being four-armed. Show me the same form again." So saying, he tightly embraced Sena's feet. Hearing the king say this, Sena the barber was full of astonishment. Bringing the cup with the oil, king made Sena look at it. There the four-armed one was not to be seen. He thought, "This is a most wonderful miracle." He exclaimed, Brother of the lowly, purifier of the sinner, dweller of the vacant, O Narayan, delighter of the heart, for my sake, you have engaged yourself in this lowly work. Helper of the helpless, husband of Rukmini, father of the Cupid, beautiful with your dark complexion, savior of the world, generous giver of the final deliverance. For my sake, you did perform this lowly work. The Vedas and the Shastras describe your good deeds, but they do not know the limit of your power. O merciful one, for my sake, you did accept this low occupation. Brahmadev, Indra, and Shiva do not know of your limits. Why did you today, for my sake, take a bag of barber's implements upon your shoulder? He then broke out into weeping and loud crying, and was moved to great sobs. The king rushed up to Sena and held him by his feet. He said to him, By association with you, I have been able to see Krishna. How can I describe the power of association with the saints? It was by having met Narad that the fisherman Valmiki wrote Ramayana. Such is a Vaishnav, merciful and savior of the dull and the ignorant. Through the favor of Vyas, Sanjay had the privilege of listening to the Bhagavad Gita. So through you I have had the sight of Sri Krishna. Sena saw the coins which God had thrown into the bag of implements. He then distributed them amongst the Brahmins in the presence of everyone. The king became repentant and gave himself to the worship of Hari. Sena the Barber was pleased because Hari was pleased. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Sena the Barber. Amazing, isn't it? And we put an end to this capsule and this story with a promise to be back with you with the story of another great saint. So goodbye, good luck, and Sadar Pranam.